friends, welcome back to my channel. It's Lex at Lex Reads. I just really want to read some werewolf books. Okay, here's the deal. You may or may not recall, I recently did a vlog reading some professional book recommendations from Book Riot. Among those books, I read Squad by Maggie Takuta Hall, I believe, which was a graphic novel about a pack of teenage girl werewolves who murdered and ate shitty dudes. And then the cops thought there was a serial killer. Since reading that, I've really wanted to read a werewolf book that I am super interested in. Cause that one was fine, but it didn't quite achieve what I wanted it to do. So I've picked a small of 3 books. To be fair, I have higher hopes for one of these than for the other 2. But we're gonna see. I'm gonna try them all and we'll see how it goes. Alright, so, the books that I'm interested in, some of them are super cursed. I, stumbled upon one of them on Goodreads and added it because, Lex lore that I'm putting on the internet. I really enjoy, Omegaverse fanfiction. I just do. I'm shameless. I'm not even embarrassed. So, I want to try Bride, which is by Allie Hazelwood, which is, I believe, a vampire werewolf romance. A few of my friends have read it and really enjoyed it. And I'm not a huge romance girly nowadays, but I thought it would be fun to try. And I mean, if I don't like it, I don't like it. No harm, no foul. But I'm going to try that. Also, The Alpha's Son. Don't even remember the author. I will pop the cover up here. And a name down here. This one I think maybe is lightly ABO or adjacent. It feels that way. Anyway, the one that I think I'm actually gonna like is Such Sharp Teeth, which is about a woman who is moving back to her hometown. Gets out one night, went on her way there. She, gets out to investigate something weird that happened. And, I believe gets turned into a werewolf. And it sounds kind of campy. I think it's, it's, dark comedy, I believe, is, the vibe. Either way, looking forward to testing it.
Oh, alright, here's the deal. Good morning. I'm at work right now. I have, a 35-minute prep time. And my hold from the library for the audiobook of Such Sharp Teeth came in yesterday or the day before. So I'm going to start that while I do some laminating and making sure I have all of the pages marked in my kids' books that are going home. So while I do my 35-minute break time, I'm going to start Such Sharp Teeth. And I'll let you know what I think. Let's do it.
Hello. I just sat down to film my review portion of one of my last vlogs, and I figured while I'm sitting here, I might as well tell you how I'm feeling about Such Sharp Teeth. Is that what I'm reading? I'm enjoying it so far. I'm about a quarter of the way in at this point. It's in some ways what I was expecting, and in some ways, really not what I was expecting. I know it is pitched as, a dark comedy / love story. It's way more romance than I was expecting. The romance is, a really primary subplot, which is fine. There's, nothing wrong with that. I was expecting less romance and more horror. And it's more romance and some horror. The setup also happened so quickly. I was expecting a little bit more character introduction. She was attacked by a werewolf on the 5th damn page. It's right at the beginning. There's been a little bit of funky body horror stuff in the way that she's turning into a werewolf. So, you know, the things that come with that. She's, like, kind of freaking out because no one knows. And she's like, what the fuck? And, like, weird things are happening to her body. And she's, like, in love with this boy. Man, they're adults. She's 27. Also, a couple times she's like, I'm 27 for God's sake. And I am 27. And sometimes I, like, forget that I'm, like, a whole adult. And I know that's silly because I, like, have a full-time job and I pay my own bills and I live alone in a country that is foreign to me. Like, I moved to a foreign country and live here. Like, that's a very adult thing to have done. But I'm always like, oh, right, I guess I am, like, a whole grown-up. And then she'll be like, I'm not a child, I'm a whole woman. And I'm like, yeah, I guess. Sure. The tone is pretty fun. It's, like, a little funny. It's, like, a little lighthearted. There's some fun, like, imagery going on. She has, like, spooky dreams sometimes that are werewolfy, and I really enjoy those sequences. I'm having fun so far. I think I might finish it, maybe not today, because I have, like, 4 more hours left on the audiobook, but I definitely think at some point this weekend I'll finish it. Okay. So I thought this whole time that I knew who turned her. I was like, I know. And actually, I think I'm wrong. And I now think I know who turned her. And I really hope we get to know who turned her. Because I guess it's possible that it's just some random person. But I feel like it's one of the characters we know. Also, this book is for the girlies with rage. I'm covered in marker because I was coloring. While listening to my audiobook, I colored like 3 pictures. And now my brain is tired of that. I can't do that anymore. But I only have like an hour left. I'm almost done. It's like 10. I could feasibly finish this tonight. I don't know, man. I do like it. There's also, like, a really interesting parallel between Scarlett's pregnancy and Rory's lycanthropy, which I think is fun. Like, the way that they're both experiencing these, like, weird changes to their bodies and, like, a lack of control and, like, something else occupying their, like, physical space. It's just, and they're twins. It's just very interesting. And I appreciate that. I like it. I'm back. To you, it looks like I didn't leave. It's like 20 minutes later. I think something that's interesting about this book is that it is technically a horror novel. But, well, it's like horror light, because it's not scary. It's, like, not unsettling. It's horror in the sense that the protagonist has been turned into a werewolf against her will. But I think the heart of this story it's like a lot about relationships and like different kinds of relationships. Like, our protagonist has a really complicated relationship with her mom. Our protagonist is a twin and she's moved back home to be with her sister who's gonna have a baby. But also, like, and she's starting a relationship with this old friend that she's known for like an eternity, you know, their whole lives. But also, like, really, I think the heart of this story is about, like, finding yourself and, like, self-love regardless of your circumstance. I think in a lot of ways it's, like, a really relatable story. I mean, obviously, I'm not turning into a werewolf, but, like, a lot of the conversations that are being had in this book, I like, get. And also, I know I mentioned earlier, I'm, like, the same age as the protagonist. And a lot of times when I read adult novels, I still am usually reading them and feeling, like, younger than the people I'm reading about, even though nowadays I'm, like, not necessarily always younger. It just, like, feels that way, and I think it's just because, like, I read about teenagers for so long, and I mean, I still do, but, like, I read YA almost exclusively until a few years ago, and so when I'm reading about people who are almost 30, I'm like, well, they're a grown-up, but, like, I'm also a grown-up, but, I don't know, in a lot of ways, I'm, like, in a similar place in my life that Rory's at in hers, and so I think a lot of her story is, like, kind of hitting home more than I expected it to. There was also a whole moment where she was, like, mourning the loss of her life in Manhattan, because she's lived in New York, and now she's a werewolf, and she's like, well, I can't fucking go back to New York, I'm a werewolf. And I was just thinking about how, like, devastated I would be if I, like, had to leave Seoul because of forces outside of my control, and there was, like, nothing I could do about it, and how, like, genuinely upsetting that would be. She's processing that way better than I would, which is not to say that she's processing it particularly well, but, like, she's doing good, considering her circumstances. I was right. Every time I accurately predict a plot twist in a thriller or horror, or, like, you know, when there's, like, reveals, I literally am like, still got it. What? I mean, I don't always got it, but I usually get there before reveals. Not always. Sometimes I'm thoroughly shocked. Man, it's fun when I'm actually shocked. Hey, what's up? Hello. I just got home from a very exciting day of book buying. You've already seen the haul, because I posted that last week, a few weeks ago. I don't know when this video is going up. That video will already be up. I'll link it down below. But on the way home, I tried to start The Alpha's Son by, I think, Penny Jessup. This book, I don't think is for me. I only read, like, I didn't even read the whole first chapter. I read, like, a few pages and was like, I'm just really not the intended audience for this, which is fine. It's not for me. Not everything has to be. I think it's doing a disservice to both myself and the author for me to continue reading it and then being like, I hated it, if I, like, know from the third page that I'm not going to enjoy this book. So the current plan, as of right now, is we're going to scrap The Alpha's Son completely. We're just going to say, nope, not for me, which is totally fine. No hard feelings, no harm, no foul. And then instead, I'm gonna pick up, What Big Teeth? The one that was recommended to me that I mentioned. I mentioned it. I think I mentioned it. It was recommended to me by my Book Riot recommendations, and that's a werewolf book, so I think I'm gonna pick that one up instead. But then I also have, like, a pretty serious, like, horror book out from the library. I think I already have it out from the library. If not, I have a hold on it, so I'll pop those on instead, and I'll do those instead of doing this one, which is totally fine. Yeah, so When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy. I'm gonna pick up that one. Bride by Ali Hazelwood. Ali Hazelwood? Bride. That's Ali Hazelwood, isn't it? I'm just saying names now, aren't I? And then What Big Teeth by Rose Zabo. I'm not completely sure how to say her name, and I didn't look it up. And that one is following a girl who, after a boarding school accident, moves back home, where she has to deal with her very monstrous family. Her family, it sounds like she's in a family of werewolves. Sounds fun. I'm excited. Hello. Okay, here's the deal. I am almost 50% of the way through What Big Teeth. And I kind of have no idea how I feel about it. Let's talk about that. So, the atmosphere is interesting. The story is, like, fine.
It's really slow. I have a lot of questions and almost no answers. There's like magic, but only kind of. And werewolves, but they're not as big of, they're like not as, the werewolfism isn't as big of the plot as I expected. The werewolfism is like important, but like only mostly. I don't know. Also, it's kind of long. I'm listening to it on audiobook. I've been listening to it at work when I have my prep time. And the audiobook is like 12 and a half hours or something if you listen to it on like one speed, which I don't, but it's just, I don't know, it's like slow. I don't know how I feel.
Hey, what's up? Hello. I finished What Big Teeth. The first thing I'm going to say about it is that it's only a werewolf book purely by technicality. Yes, there are technically wolf shifters. That's not what this book is about. It was far less wolf than I wanted. It's giving more like ancient, weird, eldritch terror more than it's giving werewolf, and the whole point of this was for me to read werewolf books. It's not a werewolf book. Anyhow, like I said, yeah, they're werewolves, not in the full moon way, but more in the I can shift into a wolf at will way. Eleanor, I think I told you basically what it's about. Eleanor had an accident where she like almost murked one of her classmates at boarding school. She had been away from her family for like a decade. She runs away from boarding school, goes back home. Her family are, all the men and her sister are wolf shifters. They're werewolves for all intents and purposes. And she feels out of place. She ends up having to deal with the other things in her family and her past and her future, and it's hard to explain this book without spoiling what is probably supposed to be a reveal. It wasn't particularly surprising. I gave it 3 stars. It was entertaining enough. It's slow paced. It's not that long, but it felt kind of long. It didn't take me that long to read, but it like felt kind of long, you know, and it just like feels kind of long. It's one of those books. If it sounds like something you'd be interested in, I do think it's worth picking up. Like, it was still a fun enough read. It's fine. I'm gonna read Bride next. Hopefully I like it. This is the first time I've read any Ali Hazelwood, but as we all know, one of the tenets of my personality is that I love fanfiction. I read fanfiction, I write fanfiction. No one loves fanfiction the way that I do. They just don't get it. That's a lie. Plenty of people love fanfiction the way that I do. Regardless, I hope I like it because Ali Hazelwood is a fanfiction writer. She was a Raylo girly. I don't read Raylo, but hopefully some of the stylistic things that I enjoy in fanfiction will have carried over a little bit. And it seems like it might be like really, really, really vaguely, lightly ABO adjacent, maybe. Which we all know I love a good Omegaverse fanfiction. I love Omegaverse. Don't get it twisted. So I'm gonna hop into Bride next. Bride is the next read. Hopefully I love it. We'll see.
Hey, what's up? Hello? Okay. Here's the deal. I desperately need to clean my apartment. I'm going to set a 30-minute timer. I'm gonna pop on the Bride audiobook, and that'll get me 1 hour into the audiobook whilst I deal with the mess that is my house. I haven't started it yet, so rest assured, no impressions exist. This is gonna be my first Ali Hazelwood. Did I mention that? I maybe did. Alright, update. I like it so far. I'm like a little over an hour and a half, or about an hour and a half, I think, into the audiobook. I'm having fun with the world building. I was right. I was like, so here's the thing. This book
there are two wolves inside me, right? One wolf is like not really a fan of enemies to lovers. Enemies to lovers traditionally has never really been my thing. I don't love it. It's not my fave. But I do love fan fiction, and Allie Hazelwood is a fan fiction author. That's how she started. You know, in the way where she's like has published Raylo fan fiction. You know. So I'm enjoying it. I think the world building is fun so far. I want to know more. I like this interesting, like, tense cohabitation between humans and vampires and werewolves. God, I need a haircut so bad. But yeah, overall, I'm really enjoying it so far. I cleaned for like 45 minutes. Is my apartment perfect? No. Is it a lot better? Yes. I'm gonna write for a little bit, and then I'll catch up with you later if I end up listening to more book. Okay, hi. I feel like I always end up back in my bed. Let's talk about Bride, which I finished. It was good. I enjoyed it. I thought the, like, world building, while, like, pretty bare bones, it was still fun. Like, I was, intrigued a lot by the political aspects of the world we were occupying. I feel like we didn't get to learn as much about it as I would have liked, but that's maybe like a personal preference thing. I mean, I know it's like a romance. Knots were present. Also, like, vampire biting in the way that turns sexual. There were sex scenes. They were not bad, which is usually not how I feel about published sex scenes. A lot of times when I'm reading published books, they make me, like, cringe. I'm like, ugh. And I really just think it's because I read fan fiction, and in my opinion, the smut in fan fiction is so much better than published smut. Not always, of course. There's some really, really, really bad fan fiction. But, like, on the whole. And then I remembered that Allie Hazelwood is a fan fiction girly, and was like, that's probably why it's not that bad. We did have, like, kind of a stupid third act conflict. I called all of the twists, like, when I met the characters. To be fair, romance books aren't generally written, like, I'm not necessarily the target demographic, right, for Bride, because I'm, like, a thriller horror girly first and foremost. I was, like, moonlighting in the romance world. I think if you primarily read romance and you don't read a lot of, like, thriller horror, or not horror, like, thriller mystery, that's what I meant to say, not horror, then perhaps the reveals will feel a little bit more reveal-y, but I think just due to, like, my reading history, I, like, immediately clocked what was there wasn't, like, a single thing that was a reveal that surprised me, but I still thought it was a fun ride. Like, I didn't really care. I had so much fun I guess I listened to it on audiobook at work. Like, I had such a fun time listening to it that I don't care if the reveals are shocking, if I still feel like the build-up and the execution were good. Like, I'm okay with seeing the plot twist coming, as long as it doesn't feel stupid or boring or contrived or, like, blah, blah, you know? So, on the whole, I thought it was really fun. I have one more werewolf book to read. Just one more. We are almost done, man. The last one I have is When the Wolf Comes Home? Is that what it's called? This one's horror. This is our only, like, true horror offering of the werewolf vlog. And I'm super excited. This one I'm gonna have to read with mine eyes because I don't have an audiobook anywhere, but I do have the ebook through Everand, so I will be reading physically. I don't think we talked about what this is about earlier, but this one is following a young, she's a 20-something-year-old actress, I think, who one day finds, like, a little boy who has run away from his home. and she's like trying to help him evade his shitty dad, and amidst that evasion, like, grisly bad things start happening. And it kind of gives, like, Werewolf is hunting them slasher kind of vibes. It sounds fun. I'm feeling very optimistic about it. I plan to start reading it tonight, but I'm a little bit busy some of the days this week, so I don't know how long it'll take me to read. I will keep you updated as we go along. Hey, what's up? Hello. I just want to give you a quick update on When the Wolf Comes Home. First of all, I'm starting to have a sneaking suspicion that this is also maybe not a werewolf book. And that will be the second time that kind of happened in this werewolf reading vlog. Anyway, I'm about 10% in. I don't like it so far. I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt because the last book that I rated 5 stars, I also didn't like at this point in the book. It took me like 60 pages to like that one, and then I was like obsessed. So there's hope for us yet. Anyway, okay, so here's the deal. We're following our protagonist. I know I told you like what it's about, but at the like very beginning of the book, she's at her job at like this shitty restaurant, I think, and she goes and she's cleaning the men's bathroom. This is like the very beginning of the book. These aren't major spoilers. And she like accidentally stabs herself with a used needle, like the kind you might get a blood-borne disease from. So she's like panicking and going through it and goes home, where she finds the little boy, and that's like basically where I'm at. It's like specifically I'm not sure if I gel with the writing yet. There's been a really fun use of repetition, which I like could get behind. I think I just like don't really care yet about the characters, but I might get there. It might happen. I was listening to it on audiobook because I didn't want to read it because I wasn't super excited about it. I like was when I put all the holds in, and now that it's time for me to read it, I'm like no longer that excited about it. Which happens sometimes, you know. But whatever. Either way, I'm like sitting here, I'm like looking this book in the eye. I might enjoy it more if I just read it. And maybe I would enjoy it more if I just read it because I read pretty fast. Like, I'm a pretty fast reader. And I just think that the pace of an audiobook might not be conducive to me enjoying this story. I think it's maybe just a little too slow. The pace is too slow. I don't know. I'm going to try to read like maybe 20 more pages tonight before I go to bed. It's not that late. I've got time. It's only like 8. Yeah. I got time. If my opinion changes, I'll let you know. Okay. I'm going to be completely honest. At no point whilst reading this book have I known where we were going. This book is so far removed from what I thought it was. Like, so far removed from what I thought it was. I don't even know how to talk about it without, like, ruining, like, large plot points that are secret in the summary, which is why I didn't know what this book is about. I didn't like it at the beginning, and then I was really into it, and then they lost me again. Okay, here's the deal. I don't feel like calling this a werewolf book is fair. Is it good? Yeah, it's pretty good. I'm enjoying it enough. The werewolf is not, it's complicated. And I can't explain really any more than that without giving away, like, spoilers. What I can say is that I feel like this book is mostly about fear and generational trauma, ? It's an eternity later, and we're finally ready to talk about all their books. First of all, I finished When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy. It was pretty good. I gave it like a 3.5 rounded up, so 4 stars, but like a 3.5 in my heart. I give it like if we're looking at it out of 10, I think it's like a 2 out of 10 as a werewolf book, and like a 7.5 out of 10 as like just a horror novel. This one really delves into like family trauma and like daddy issues, but also like it's not about werewolves so much as it's about fear. And I think I even mentioned whilst I was reading it, I don't even think it's really fair to pitch this as a werewolf book. It was pitched to me as a werewolf book, and I think whoever did that was lying. You were lying to me. If I had a nickel for every time I made a werewolf vlog and I read werewolf books, and one of the books wasn't even really a werewolf book, I'd have 2 nickels, which is half of the books. Let's go through the deal. So first I read Such Sharp Teeth by Rachel Harrison. This one I gave 4 out of 5 stars and did quite enjoy. This feels very like comedy horror to me. It's one of those like none of it is scary. The horror is entirely in the circumstance. It was fun. I think it wasn't like perfect for me, but I did really enjoy it and I did think it was a good time. I am interested to pick up some of Rachel Harrison's other works because I think this one, someone just like skidded down my hallway outside. I think this one wasn't quite perfect for me. I'm not really sure why, but I do think that within her canon there possesses the possibility of a book that I'm like absolutely obsessed with being in there somewhere. I really want to read her book that is coming out later this year, which I suddenly cannot remember at all what it's about or what it's called, but I do have it on my like release radar. So maybe I'll pick that one up and maybe that one will be perfect. I don't know. She's written a few things and I just think one of them might really, really do it for me. After that, I read What Big Teeth by Rose Szabo. This one I gave 3 stars, which I do think technically makes it my least favorite of the 4. It was fine. It's kind of like slow paced, and once again, not really about werewolfism almost at all. There's like kind of the presence of werewolves. Did you notice the contour swatch on my hand? Guess I forgot to wash that off. Anyhow, whatever. We're just gonna keep going. I'm not gonna. Okay, not until I'm done filming. Okay, What Big Teeth, technically my least favorite. There's the presence, I would say, not even of werewolves, but of wolf shifters, which is actually true of all of these books, except the last one. Fucking, I can't even remember what it's called. I'm such a mess. I've been working on this video for months. I read the first 2 books of these in May. It is now nearly August. Ow! I don't know. It was okay. I think there was some fun, interesting, like, fantasy elements in here that I haven't really seen before. I do think, like, A+ for creativity, and I think I maybe told you more about what it was about when I was reading it. I only remember the broad strokes at this point because it's been a few months, and it's very middle. It really wasn't a standout book for me. But if anything I said about it sounds interesting, I do think it's maybe worth picking up. Like I said, I think there's some really, really interesting fantasy elements in here that I really appreciated her playing with and creating. There's some cool stuff going on here. It just didn't quite land for me. I think really what it is that none of these books is what I was looking for going into this. A genuine surprise to me is that I think my favorite book of the bunch was Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This is the only Ali Hazelwood I've ever read. This one is like a firm 4 stars. Not the best thing I've ever read. Not even quite enough where I would be like, I'd absolutely read the next one, because there's a second book, I believe. Like, I don't even necessarily feel like I want or need to read this second one, but I did have a fun time reading the first, and I think I talked about it then. I'm fairly certain that one of the reasons I enjoyed it so much is that it reads like fan fiction, because Ali Hazelwood's a former, I mean, I guess she might still be writing fan fiction, but a formal fan fiction writer. And considering fan fiction is truly and wholly my beloved, that's my first love right there. I love fan fiction. Some of the things about her writing just feel like coming home. You know, they just feel very familiar in the sense that they're very fan fiction-y. Word on the street is that she's publishing an actual Omegaverse book. This is not Omegaverse. If anyone tells you this is Omegaverse, they're lying to you. There is the presence of a knot in a sex scene, and a knot does not Omegaverse make. I'm like an Omegaverse connoisseur in the way that it's actually one of my favorite, like, things in fanfiction. I love the Omegaverse. I love it. And I have, like, opinions about the Omegaverse. And one of those is that a knot does not Omegaverse make, as I just said. Just because someone has a knot does not mean that you're reading an Omegaverse. There's just happens to be a knot on a human. I know, it's fine. Whatever. The knot's not... The thing... I think people get too caught up on the knot. The knot is not the important part. No pun intended. Not the important part of an Omegaverse fic or novel, I guess. Those are out there, I'm assuming. It's just, that's not the interesting part. The interesting part is like societal implications and interesting things with gender, and I mean, not the smut, but mostly the interesting societal implications and the playing with gender. And occasionally men being pregnant. I love that the main character's name is Misery. I think that's iconic of her. I quite like Misery. I thought this was fun. This is a paranormal romance in the sense that we've got like a vampire and a were, which is not a werewolf in the traditional sense, but is enough werewolf that this can be classified as werewolf. It was fun! If you like romance, I think this is fun. I think this would be worth picking up. I think I already told you that, but I'll say it again. It was fun. Anyway, and that brings us to When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy. The only, I would say, like, true horror submission on this list, although, What Big Teeth has some horror elements, and so does the Rachel Harrison. Such Sharp Teeth. That's why I want to call them both What Big Teeth, Such Sharp Teeth, What Big Teeth. And I read them literally back to back. There was nothing in between. Anyway, this one is the true horror offering of the bunch. Which is funny, because I absolutely love horror. This one's a little bleak. Like I said, this one's for the babes with daddy issues. This one's for the babes. My favorite quote in the entire book is, "Fear is fear is fear," which is part of a longer quote. Something about slithering in the night. I did have to stop for a minute on the audio. I read this one half on audio, half physically. They did some fun things in the audiobook. I do think that this one, if you like audiobooks, I think the audiobook of this one is worth picking up. Our protagonist is a young woman, but there are a few times, not exclusively, but there was this really standout moment in the audiobook. This isn't really a spoiler, but where she's like reading a piece of writing, and the author, the like writer of what she's reading, was a man. And there's this like really cool moment where she's reading it and it's in her voice, and then it kind of like crossfades into the male narrator's voice. And that felt very poignant, like within the context of the story. And I quite enjoyed that. This one has some stellar reviews. People love this book. I did not like this book. This book was pretty good. It's like kind of middle of the pack for me this year. was this vlog successful? I mean, I wasn't like looking for a new favorite book. I just wanted to read some werewolf books. So I'll call this 50% successful, considering only 50% of the books were werewolf books. Anyway, thank you for hanging out with me. My name is Lex. If you had fun watching this video, you should stick around. I do reading vlogs mostly, but not exclusively. I do have some plans to do some more like sit-down videos. I'm working right now on like a video of like thriller recommendations for thriller newbies. I also want to do one for horror, like horror recommendations for horror newbies. Anyway, I've got some fun stuff coming up. I'm working on some like reading challenges. Peace out. See you soon. Bye bye.